So this lovely gentleman here is absolutely right. I had my Alexanders crossed. The gentleman who was assassinated by the people's will was Alexander II of Russia, not Alexander III. So, that said, I still insist that he was a tyrant who was just replaced by a worse tyrant, which is, the point I was making, that simply bumping off Putin is not going to solve anything, or is going to solve very little. Here's why. So, in a lot of history books, Alexander II is described as this kind of a nice liberal czar who, abolished serfdom. And he did. That bit is true. Serfdom, which was Russia's equivalent of slavery, was abolished in 1861, and he was assassinated in 1881. Now, here's where we run into some problems with his public image, why it's not really particularly nice or particularly liberal. First of all, abolition of serfdom was terribly implemented from the logistical standpoint. Why? Because you had all these basically former slaves, most of whom were illiterate, declared as small landowners and saddled with all of the different administrative duties and taxes. Some of the taxes were actually introduced at the point of the abolition of serfdom to compensate the former slave owners. And that came out of the very slaves that we had just freed. And the financial burden for a lot of them was such that they could not own land anymore. They could not do what they wanted to do. They couldn't work the land. They had to sell everything they had to pay their taxes. And then they flooded the cities, creating a job and housing crisis there. So that didn't go well. In addition, Alexander II was brutal when it came to the invaded parts of Russian Empire. Under his rule, Ukraine, Livonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland were all forbidden to use their native language. In the 1860s, there was an uprising in Poland that went on for 18 months, was brutally suppressed, and the participants were either executed or sent to Siberia. At the onset of his reign, when these areas said, can we please just separate and be our own countries again? He said, let's have no dreams, gentlemen. Still a tyrant.